Hello again. Hi, Kaidar is my name. I am the acting chief climatologist here at Tobago Met Services, and I'm here to present our hurricane forecast for the 2025 season. Next, so, next slide. What is important here, we need to do is to look at what are some of the influences that affect the hurricane season and what are some of the potential impacts because of those features. Now, here we can see what we have here is enso-neutral conditions in the tropical Pacific, which has a lot of variability for Trinidad and Tobago. It varies in terms of how much hurricanes form, where they're forming, and also the strength of hurricanes. Another important feature that is important for hurricane development is warm sea surface temperatures. Our area of interest, you can see across here, the big rectangle, is the area that when hurricanes or storms develop, it affects us directly or indirectly. What's interesting here to note is that the SSTs are a little bit warmer here in this area, but what is also interesting is also that the Atlantic meridional mode in existence really is in neutral phase right now. What this means is that you have the North Atlantic Ocean, subtropical ocean cooler, also the subtropical Atlantic Ocean cooler than our area of interest, which is the tropical Atlantic Ocean. And what it does is actually focuses most of the activity towards Eastern Caribbean or more so Southeastern Caribbean, which is where we are located. And you can see here, it's warmer here, it's cooler there, it's a little bit cooler there. Next slide. So, what are some of the things that affect hurricane development and also tropical storm development? We are looking here at a slide of the Saharan layer and associated dust associated with the Saharan layer. All of us will see the dust in the hills. If you look at the northern hills, in the morning time or during the day. But physically, when it's stretched all over, it covers a very large area or the area of interest. It will reduce the development of tropical storms and hurricanes. If it's because what is important here is that a storm or hurricane develops from something that is initial stage as seed, which is tropical depression. If it does not develop, get a chance to gain moisture and gain energy, it would not develop into a tropical storm and then further into a hurricane. The next slide. One other feature that affects hurricane development is you're having wind shear. Wind shear at the middle of the level actually cuts off the tops of these cumulus clouds that is needed for the development of tropical storms and hurricanes. If you have a wind shear in our area of interest, what will happen is that the seeds, which is the tropical depressions or a trough or whatever is there in the ITCs, wherever it is located, it wouldn't get a chance to develop properly. And so it will remain maybe a tropical depression, maybe a tropical wave, and just move into the Caribbean Sea and away from our area. Next slide. But one of the major things that affects hurricane development, tropical storm development, is how warm SSTs are. And as I said before in a few slides, this is what is going on right now. Cooler waters to the northern part of the subtropical Atlantic. Similarly here, a warm town of above normal sea surface temperatures. Similar here is more warming is occurring and it's spreading across the Atlantic. On the next slide also, and then further into the August, September, October period. And with this now, next slide, you have the tendency for a feature called the ITCZ, which is the Intertropical Convergence Zone, to lie within these areas of warm SSTs. The nature of the ITCZ is that it wants to follow warm water because there's where it gets the energy for convergence and cloud development. And normally in a satellite imagery, you will see patches of cloudiness associated with ITCZ. So if you look at our slide to the left, May, June, July, this is where we expect it to exist. And also later on the season, August, September, October, that's the orientation we expect the ITCs to have. So what this means for us is that you can have the presence of the ITCZ that comes over us regularly. And as we can see in June, between the 17th to the 21st, just last month, we had the presence of the ITCZ close to our area, and then we declared the start of the hurricane, start of the rainy season. Now, what also is important too, you could have convergent bands on the coast here, and also coming off from the Atlantic. So you could have cloudy conditions, not associated with ITCZ. You can have convergent bands. You can have tropical waves passing over. So you could have a number of things that can produce rain. Next slide. So if you look at our North Atlantic hurricane basin, which is this whole rectangle here, most international organizations do forecast for this large area. Next slide. So, for example, Colorado State University forecasted 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, major hurricanes, 4. This is above normal, but last year they had a higher amount, so they have reduced the amount of storms and hurricanes for this year. Next slide. Similarly, in NOAA, they're going for above normal number of hurricanes. Named storms 13 to 19, hurricanes 6 to 10, major hurricanes 3 to 5. Also, from last year, they have a reduced amount of storms and hurricanes. Next slide. AccuWeather, similar pattern. Forecast 13 to 18, 7 to 10 hurricanes, major hurricanes 3 to 5. Previously, it was going 18, 11, and 5. So you can see they have reduced the amount. Last year was a lot more hotter. The SSTs across the Caribbean was very much higher than what is now. And because of that, most models are giving you a reduced amount. Next slide. In the Caribbean, the CMIH, which is Caribbean Center Meteorology and Hydrology, their area, which is a little bit smaller, as you can see here, tropical Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea. And next slide. They are going with 19 storms, 9 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes. You can see the pattern where every one of the different institutions or departments are kind of close in terms of their forecast amount, which is also reduced from what they had last year. Next slide. So this is our area of interest. You can see it's a very limited area, very small. It lies between 6 north and 30 and 15 north. I could go back on that, yeah. And also just off the west coast of Africa. And it's very smaller than what the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology has for their area interest, because of the nature of the CMIH is that they are concerned with what's in the Caribbean that affects the Western Caribbean and so on. But for us, most of the activity or most of the storms and hurricanes that transverse out this area of interest do affect us. If they're in the Caribbean Sea, and they keep moving north or northwestward, they move away from our area. So we are more concerned what is coming from the east coming west to the Eastern Caribbean. Next slide. And now our hurricane season forecast. Next slide. But before we do that, let's see what happened last year. So last year, the SSTs across the Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, the tropical Atlantic was very much warmer, as I said before. And because our forecast basically is the correlation between SSTs and the frequency of storms and tropical storms and hurricanes, we forecasted 6 storms and 3 hurricanes. But what we actually got, we got 3 storms and 2 hurricanes. Next slide. For this 2025 season, we are going for a reduced amount of storms. There's a high probability of 44% of that happening. Next slide. And also we're looking at normal amounts of hurricanes. Next slide. So for forecasts for this hurricane season 2025, we're looking at 3 storms forecasted for 2025 and 1 hurricane. In terms of likely amounts of storms, 1 to 5. That's our range, and also likely number of hurricanes, 0 to 2. The next slide. So let's remember what happened last year in terms of Hurricane Beryl and how it affected us here in the Caribbean. It came close to Tobago. It went through Grenada and some of the small islands there. Most of the islands were devastated. Tobago was affected. Not so much, but we did had a lot of rain, a lot of strong winds, and it just came closer to Tobago. So imagine if it comes over Tobago or comes directly over Trinidad. But the direct effect will be devastating to us. So devastating to us. So over next slide, please. Right. So the key points to take away here is that the region faces another active hurricane season in the area of interest. A reduction in tropical cyclones frequency is likely in June and July because of the nature of the SSTs that I showed early on. Um, and we expect it to pick up later on in the season as the SSTs geographically expands across the tropical Atlantic. Any tropical storm forming in the area of interest has a potential to threaten Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, as we see from last year, as an example of Beryl. The season needs one tropical storm or hurricane to cause devastation over Trinidad and Tobago. We have to prepare to be aware of the situation. There's potential hurricanes that can affect us. Next slide. Thank you for your time and your cooperation.